Thank you very much to James again. I've been on his channel today taking some little videos off because obviously there's part of his harvest. There he is there. So I spoke to him the other day, but we didn't particularly have a very good connection. We did talk for a while, but for me, he was it. But he isn't on his messages. So anyway, we're going to talk at the weekend. But yeah, I put this little video together because James sent me another little masterpiece. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Thanks very much, James. Oh yes, this is his channel. There's his channel.
I thought as a topic I would talk about life and death, with the intention here that it will hopefully allay people's fears. We're in a realm where there is one certainty for anything that is living, and that is the separation of spirit from matter, what people refer to as death. Now I feel the best explanation with regard to this experience called life is to understand. I'm going to use the Rudolf Steiner way of explaining this, because it doesn't matter so much whether you feel it's true or not, but I feel what matters is if it feels right and it takes any further questions about it. If it feels right and makes sense, then it's like a closed book, as it were. So the way Rudolf Steiner talks about this is we are four bodies. So you have your physical body, then you have your etheric body, your astral body, and your eye organization. So when you go to sleep at night, the physical body is horizontal and not moving. The etheric body is basically the operating system. In the physical sense, its counterpart is the lymphatic system. But it will be controlling all the functions of the body, the organs, all the things you don't have to consciously think about, that just keep operating the entire time between birth and death. Now we're in a realm of duality, just as a little side tangent here. So when you look up at the night sky, you can see the stars clearly, but many people will focus on the stars and forget about what separates, so you can distinguish one star from another star. Now, what if you introduce daylight? Now what's happened to the stars? Are they still there? Because now the sense of sight can no longer see them, because there's too much light that is blocking out the light of these stars. So anyway, so you've got your physical body and your etheric body. Now when you sleep, they stay here, they remain, and this is what happens with the physical body. In the biblical reference to this is there is nothing added and nothing taken away. So the physical body is part of this physical realm. It can't go anywhere else, so it remains here. Hence you have human remains. So the other two parts are your astral body. Now that is connected to the nervous system. Now if you look at most animals, they're four-legged, so they have a greater exposure of the spine to the astral. So a horse wants to fly, for example, so it will leap about and jump about. Dogs, to a certain degree, behave in the same way, and also cats. But then you've got other animals like cows, who are sort of very earthy creatures, hence the Taurus being an earth sign. So they're more sort of a plodding, earthbound animal, and it's even down to the excrement. A cow produces a cow pat, whereas a horse will produce dung, which is sort of round like a ball and will roll, and even that reflects this sort of trying to fly aspect. But the human is something very different. So our spine is on a vertical axis, so it has not got quite so much exposure to these astral influences. But clearly there is a interaction, and the nervous system is a series of receptors. Now, a lot of people might say, well, yeah, but there's no connection. Well, is there any connection, say, with Wi-Fi? Is there a connection with a radio or a television broadcast? It's broadcast through the air. So how is these astral influences affecting us, apart from through the air or through the ether? The state beyond the gaseous state of air is ether. Hence, in computers, they use the term as an Ethernet cable. There's so many clues in the languaging of things, and if you really stop to hear words and the way they're said, as opposed to the way they're spelt, and then have a play with them and look at where the syllable breaks are. So do you hear the word, for example, do you hear the word realize, real lies, or real eyes? Because it's basically exactly the same sound, but it just depends on the emphasis and where the emphasis is placed as to what people will hear. So then you have the human, which makes us, distinguishes from the animal kingdom more than anything else, is this individual I organisation, this individualised identity. To go through these experiences, you could think of it in a way as being the creator being like the head, and each one of us is a hair on that head, but made or encouraged to feel small and insignificant. But it is an innumerable part that makes up the whole. So the true essence is going down to the root, getting to the root, just like a hair root. And then you come back to where it's expressed as, I think David Icke used this term when he sort of went public and said, I am the Godhead, when he had that turtle colour tracksuit appearing on that sort of infamous episode of Wogan. And to me that makes the most perfect sense. How else could you experience this physical world without a physical body? But now I say this from a place of personal experience of this, and I was reminded of it, I think it was an Alan Watts lecture I heard several months ago. I can't be absolutely certain to be able to quote it, but in that story there's a man who talks about having a heart attack, and he said, I'd thoroughly recommend it to anybody. Now I had a point in my life where I was losing blood at a very rapid rate, and I was going unconscious, and it was like, wow, if this is what death is, this is beautiful. Oh, this is wonderful. Now, I'm not saying that I'm in any hurry to get there, because I'm enjoying this experience of life. And I feel this material world reflects the spiritual in a sort of twisted way. So, whereas we're here to have an experience and, shall we say, upload the experiences to the sort of Godhead, as it were, in this material realm, it's been sort of twisted into data collection, because it's all this talk about artificial intelligence. With the artificial intelligence to study humanity through this technology, will build up a profile of what things you like, what things you watch, what things you listen to. It's all sort of being tracked and monitored, and the algorithms are building up a character that is based on your preferences or things. This is why I feel it's very important to not do any of these online surveys and things, because it's voluntarily being tricked into giving information away that is probably works on the same way as when the police will say you have the right to remain silent, but anything you do say can and will be used against you. You notice the wording. It doesn't say can and will be used in your defence. So they tell you the truth. It's just humanity has been trained by an education system to only hear things in particular ways. It's compartmentalised information, basically. In the same way that those that are involved in something like NASA, they're just, or even let's take a more universal example, the banking industry. So the employees that are at the customer service desks and things, they're not in on it. They're not part of a conspiracy. They're just doing a job, and they're earning money in that job. But they're not evil or anything. There's many layers to these things, and I feel you'd have to go a long way up through the banking world to the very top of it, and then you're still not going to be anywhere near the top of the pyramid of this sort of control or operating system of this reality, that these so-called controllers. But what control do they really have? Increasingly in the business world, you have the term human resources, and as beyond that, it's in terms of being part of a nation, you're classed as a resource. And that's saying about where the attention goes, the energy flows. So these scripts that are put out are to get your attention. So there's something going on in the unseen that is not physical, not tangible, that is harvesting human energy, or what is called loosh. I can't help but this just popped into my mind. Have you got any loose change? So loosh. And most of these scripts are all fear-based what-ifs with no foundation of truth behind them. There's many phases of and ways of doing trickery. How can we know any information that comes through the media in any form to be absolutely true? Is there anything you can put your hand on your heart and say, yes, I know this to be true? Because most of the things are always somewhere else in the world that you can't verify. Unless you've got a trusted, well, I'd say you need 3 sources or 3 witnesses. So for whatever happens in anywhere in the world, we'd need 3 people in that local to that area to be able to say, yes, it's true, or no, it's not true. But even then, it comes down to discernment. How well do you know that other person that you're speaking to? Are they giving you true information? What they witness, is it a true picture of what's really going on? even if you think in terms of the military, it's based on intelligence. Yes, there may be people firing at you from over the other side of a hill, for example, but it's all determined on this supply of information called intelligence. And is there ever any questioning of, is that information correct? And what about the group that is firing? What have they been told? And what sort of armed force? Are they an opposing armed force, or have they been given information and been told misinformation? This is very much how this whole reality works. It's all trickery and illusion, and getting humanity to voluntarily give away its power so easily. And that is a repeat thing over and over again. The more you sort of look into these things, the more you'll find that it is all based on trickery. It's like, well, if you go along with this, we'll allow you to do that. It's like, well, hang on a minute. What do you mean you'll allow me to do that? But by the looks of it, the being allowed or not allowed, there's already rules and restrictions that have been imposed upon me before I even start. So it's all trickery, the whole thing. But it seems to be very much, it's wherever you focus your attention. There's a certain event that's big news at the moment, in the sort of Middle East area. That's all I'm going to say about it. But ironically, had I not seen mention of it on True Love Channel, I would have known absolutely nothing about it. And it wouldn't have even entered my mind. But it's another one of these scripts, which is a topic for another discussion at another time. Because history repeats itself, so suffice to say that if a particular group was claiming persecution, I would expect that story to come round in an updated scenario and replayed again. Or shall we say that it may be just paving the way to set and pedestalize Albert Pike as being a prophet. If his prediction for 1 and 2 went exactly as he said 43 years before the first big event, and the second event, which is even further into the future from when this is outlined, also comes true, with the result also accurately predicted, then I would be looking and thinking, well, the odds are that number 3 will go the same way as predicted there, and that very much seems to be unfolding at the moment. Some food for thought there, I think.
I made this on Bandicom when I was in bed this morning. I made the whole thing and I stuck it on the computer, and then I had such problems putting it into a video on the computer because YouTube make everything jump, so I've had to do it again. But I took all the pictures. I was just so shocked. It was nearly 2 years ago. It's a bit sad really, because my dad is showing us these things, and he was alive then, whereas he died this year and was buried, well, he died in April and he was buried in May, so it's all a bit sad really for me. I must admit, on the first copy I cried my eyes out. I didn't mean to, so maybe it's best I recorded it again, because obviously it just brings back, we were sitting around the table and he was showing us all this and they were quite shocked. But this historiographer in 1871 showed that my mum's relative Sir Ben or Durban, or there's other versions which we'll see in a minute. In 1331, he crowned the scone, whatever it was, he crowned the king and the queen on that day in 1331. He died in 1332, very strange, in Europe. This is the Roman Catholic Church. I've got a big feeling that he could have even been a Knight Templar, whatever it is, because he was up in Scotland. It's very strange that just 1 year after crowning the king, he has died. But the very, very strange thing is that, I mean, it says somewhere in here, I think, and it's there, its coronations was first introduced. So he was the first archdeacon that crowned a king, and then after that, all kings were crowned by an archdeacon. Well, they changed the procedure of how they crowned the kings. But my parents, I mean, when you think of his name as Durban or Ben and all that, I think French anyway, but my mum believes that, oh, they're Scottish, they were in Scotland, but being part of the Roman Church and the whole thing, I don't know. But anyway, he ended up in Scotland. He got married, but he didn't have any children. So it's his family, you know, his nieces, nephews or whatever, they're the ones that moved to Wales. So there isn't actually a descendant of him because he didn't have any children. But, you know, this day my dad is showing us all these. So that, if you see any shadows, that's my dad. But anyway, so I blew it up a little bit because here it says, Sir James Ben or Durban, Archdeacon of St Andrews, in 1331 he crowned at Scone David II and his queen. And then as I've introduced, and anyway it goes on, and then he died in 1332. It's just a little bit bigger, that one, because obviously that one was a bit smaller. There it is again. I'm just so shocked. I mean, it doesn't mean, obviously, but I mean, that's pretty close to the royal family, isn't it, if you're crowning the king? I mean, yeah. But people don't realise that these people that they're crowning are just more emperors. Most of them aren't English, they come from France or somewhere else, and then they've landed here. Oh, they're the King of England, included in our history, but they don't tell you they're kings in other countries, which means that most of them would have been Roman emperors. But anyway, this is King David II that he crowned. I just think that's amazing. Some of this says that he's a good king, some of it says he's not a good king, so what are you supposed to make of that? But supposedly he was, if you want to read this, just stop it and look at it. But he was king at a very young age. Oh, I think it says it there. I think I just saw it. Yeah, when he was... So David II ruled as king, succeeding his father, Robert de Bruce, when he was still a child. And then they took him to France. So why, if you're sort of United Kingdom, would you go, oh, let's send him over to France to protect him? That's because that's where his family is. You know, they must be all French. You don't send the King of England to France to look after him, do you? I don't know, I just find that very weird. But anyway, so they're saying because he was crowned so young a king that maybe, you know, he wasn't such a good king because he was in and out of England for a bit. Anyway, you can stop and read that if you want. And then there's James Bain. So he's called James Bain, even though he is Sir. He died 1332, the Bishop of St Andrews, for a period. So weird when they say the 14th century when it's 1332. But anyway, so that's just the tiny bit. It really isn't, because that one there is in the Victorian time. There isn't that much information about him, just these little bits. James Bain was Bishop of St Andrews for a period. That's just another little thing. James Bain, they're calling him. So I suppose they could sort of get rid of him, really, because they could just change his name a tiny bit. Because you saw in here the spelling of Bain is B-E-N, or Durban in 1871. He was B-E-N or B-E-N, Durban, B-A-N-E. Up here there's another word added now, Bennett. So he was Bain, Ben or Bennett. And there's more of them, so it's all a bit strange, really. There's that one, yeah, Roman Catholic Church. And he died in Bruges. So not even in the country that he was looking after as archdeacon. So that's all a bit strange. Anyway, you can stop and read any of these if you want. There it is again. Sorry, I'm just so shocked at that, because how often do you get a piece of paper that your family crowned a king? And then that's about the king's death. So obviously they're saying Scotland looked a very different place then, with a lot less people. A bit more about King David II. And he got more lands as he became, before he became king. But was given that he was married and crowned at the age of 4 and sent to France for safety at the age of 9. He never really stood much of a chance developing an effective king, and still less a good king. So that's what that person says. But he was married. Oh my God, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's probably why he never had any children. Of course he is related to her, and they spoke Gaelic, probably with a bit of French. But that King David, it says, unless I've got the wrong king, that he was from the tribe of Judah. That could be his dad. So here it tells you if it's the same king, because it's very hard, because there wasn't that much. That could be his dad or him, but anyway. The archdeacon is the highest rank. So he was quite a way up, and he was called Sir, wasn't he? So there you go. Ben, Bane, Benny, Bennett, or Biot. James, Bishop of St Andrews, was trained from his youth for the church. As an archdeacon of St Andrews, he was sent to France. Why? In 1325, along with 3 other dignities, to renew an offensive and defensive alliance with that country. So he had to be quite well up, and he was up, yes, quite well up, wasn't he? In the original document, his name occurs as Benet. See, Benet. B-E-N-E. He is subsequently mentioned as Sir James Bain. By Fordin, he is called Jacobus Benedicti, while the name on his tombstone was Jacobus Dominius de Brute. Brute. That's who's up there. Oh, that's even a different spelling to that one up there, because that's B-I-U-R-T, and that's B-I-O-R-T. On the 19th of June 28, he was elected by the canons for the Bishop of St Andrews. And subsequently mentioned as Sir James Bain. So his name just changes all over the place, doesn't it? Oh, they've done that bit, sorry. The bishop had a custom to the coronation of the Scottish king, but Bishop Ben was the first to perform the ceremony of anointing them by special authority of the Pope. So there you go then. Roman. It's being done by the Pope. There you go. You can read that. Stop and read that one if you want. I might have done that twice. Oops. But anyway, if it's more information, stop and read it. So, there it is. It's mentioned up there. That's all it is. I went and looked it up. There's nothing much. He was obviously quite well up. They've obviously got families in France, because that's where they come from. Why would you be going to France? Well, he died in Bruges, didn't he? I mean, again, Europe. I have repeated that again, haven't I? Because I'm just so shocked. So, that is him in Scotland. So he's a Scottish bishop. There's a bit more about his name. Bain or Ben or whatever other name he had. He's got so many names. Anyway, stop and read it. A bit more. See, from Rome. Where did I see Rome? Oh, there. Reached Rome. Yes, Romans. Romans! But they haven't told us in our history, really, that that's what it is. They've pretended it's all so different when it isn't. What's that one? Oh, yes, there you go. He's in there as well. But you just get these little titles, and then there's his crest. Wow, of that family, the Bennets, or Bain, whatever. So, no eagle at the top of armour. There you go. Anglo-Saxon. Bit more there. Yeah. James Bain, Benny, Bennett, or Biot. There it is. He was sent to France along with, there you go, I think I've repeated that one. Or it's just repeated. That's all the information there is about him. There is no more stuff. And there's the crest for that family. That's the beginning of it. Yeah, it's cannot come through right. Different spellings, Anglo-Saxon. There you go, just a bit more information. We're coming to the end of the pictures now, but, you know, I know that we're saying it again. Oh, let's just go back. Gotta go back. I gotta go back. Where are we? Wrong one. This one. It's in that one, or is it in? Let's have a look at that one. Oh no, it's this one. So, very sad day for me when I look back and think my dad was holding that piece of paper. My mum's distant uncle, crowned. Well, distant as in years, I mean. But obviously, that, you know, his uncle, her uncle rather, crowned the King of England. Who else can say that? Isn't that incredible that you find that out? But, as I say, my mum thinks she's Welsh. Then she found out through this that the family had come from Scotland. But it looks even more than that, because that name is not Scottish. Is it? I'm going to look up. Oh, it said Anglo-Saxon. Well, the Anglo-Saxons are Scandinavian Germany. So maybe the name he's got is from there. But obviously it sounds more French to me. But, yeah, still the Romans. Put into this country. That's what I think. To do whatever it is. And that's if that's true. But anyway, what I like was that document was done in 18-something. And the last point I want to make is, because obviously I can't, you know, my mum's just got that piece of paper. There's not much information about this person on the computer. And there's only a little bit on that document. The document tells you how everybody's related, like birth charts. There's much more of that than there is, you know, names and families, than there is telling you who you're related to, than what country his family came from, the whole thing. It's a bit difficult. But, you know, in 1876, let's go back, because that's why I went back to that piece of paper. Hang on. Sorry, it's 1871. In 1871, they had all this information right back to the 1300s. So if you don't believe that they've got all this stuff written down and our true history and what's happened to us, they are liars. And to cover it all up with these Roman emperors and pretend that they're English kings when they're not, they come from other countries and all that crap. It's just crap, isn't it? So I'd love to know the true story of this, but in 1871 they could find all that out without computers, etc., etc. So what's your real thoughts to that? And don't forget to bow to me. No, I'm only joking. That's a joke. I'm not into all that. I was a bit like, oh no! But in a way, it's quite incredible to think that one of my relatives, after the way I feel about the royal family, maybe this was more, they were more real, because today they're not. They're just not. They're computer composites today. But, yeah, I was just, but again, that's 1871. Anyway, thanks for watching.